Homeland Security has identified yet another group of extremists. Can you believe this? There are so many of them. I know it's hard to keep track of them all, but fortunately, Alejandro Mayorkas, who is the Secretary of DHS, put it in writing for us. And so we're going to take a look at this document. You can see this is a National Terrorism Advisory System bulletin coming out from your very, very trusted, very loyal, very reliable Department of Homeland Security. You'll notice this came out Friday, August 13th, right in the middle of the debacle as it was starting to unfold in Afghanistan. And so they like to kind of slide these things out on Fridays. You know how they do that? All the bad news comes out on Fridays. It's like, hey, Hunter Biden stuff, Fridays. You know, anything that's problematic for administrations, Fridays, because they know that the American public is checked out. Everybody wants to go and start enjoying their weekend. So they do this stuff on Fridays. Pretty standard. Doubly disturbing, though, was that the rest of the country was focused on something else, so many people just missed this entirely. Friday, August 13th, now, we have a new National Terrorism Advisory System bulletin. Going to be issued August 13th, going to stay in effect until November 11th. So we've got several months of this now of, warnings, new alerts, new terrorism, And this was before Kabul fell. This was on Friday. Kabul fell on Sunday. And so now, I guess we're going to have a whole nother set of terrorism coming out. So we've got all of the international terrorism is back on the menu, boys. So we're going to be able to deal with that boogeyman for the foreseeable future. On Friday, though, they're directing our attention back towards domestic terrorism, which we've already spent a lot of time with this administration talking about. So let's go through this memo and make sure we can make some sense of it. It's going to start off with an introduction. You'll notice here that it says the Secretary of Homeland Security, which is this guy. His name is Alejandro Mayorkas. So don't let them hide behind these labels, okay? It is this man who is issuing this new National Terrorism Advisory System bulletin, saying there's heightened threat level across the United States. We continue to face diverse challenges. All of this is coming up because of 9/11 and also religious holidays that could be catalysts for acts targeting violence. So we're going to look at both of those, specifically this one. What religious holidays are they talking about? Remember, we're going from August 13th to November 11th. So we're going to take a look at those months, see if we can identify what these religious holidays they're talking about. But he says specifically, these are threats. They're posed by domestic terrorists. We've already seen a lot of that. They're engaged in grievance-based violence, whatever that means, as though there's violence that is not grievance-based, right? If you're going to be violent with somebody, it's typically because you have a grievance with them, unless it's sort of violence for sport or violence because you're a psychopath and you like to kill people just for, no reason. But most of it's pretty much grievance-based. And those inspired or motivated by foreign terrorists. These actors are increasingly exploiting online forums. Like what? Like Discord or Locals or Twitter or Facebook or Gab or what else? Parler? All right. Online forums, very dangerous. And what are they doing there? They're spreading extremist narratives. You see that? They're also promoting violent activity. So we're going to take a look at what these violent extremist narratives are. Such threats are also exacerbated by the ongoing global pandemic. See that? Including grievances over public health measures and perceived government restrictions. And so this is pretty important here, this word perceived. They're going to tell us that, what are we talking about here? Are they grievances over actual public restrictions, or are they over perceived government restrictions? Because those are two different things. If people are talking about the perceived government restrictions that are not actually in effect, that's a separate conversation from the actual restrictions that are in effect. So he's talking about the perceived government restrictions, but we don't also know what that means, because these government restrictions are dynamic. They keep changing. The goalposts keep moving all the time. It used to be that you could just get the vaccine and you were good to go. Don't have to worry about it again. But then started to see these breakthrough cases and started to see other people transmit it. Now you got to put your mask back on. And so all of the restrictions are constantly moving around. It's not a steady target. So he's going to be telling us now, this is concerning, that people have some issues with government restrictions, whether they're real or perceived. So I want to take us back to this concept that there are problematic religious holidays, that this is all now a concern because leading up to 9/11 and these religious holidays, this could be troubling. Let's take a look at some of these holidays. And so I thought to myself, well, I'm just a, Catholic boy, I don't remember in my upbringing any violent Catholic religious holidays that might make me want to spring out. But I'm not, I haven't dabbled in all of the other religions. Here is from diversityresources.com. They gave us a list of all the religions. So in August, we should be concerned about pagans and the Wiccans, but August 1st already passed. The Islamic New Year started on August 10th, but that came and went. We have Roman Catholics. That was yesterday. Feast of Assumption. There was no Catholic activities there that I knew of. Now in September, we got a lot of dates. The Jayan, I think, is a religion. We have Jewish Rosh Hashanahs in September, so we might have to be concerned about that. On 9/11, we have the Coptic Orthodox Christians. They have their Coptic New Year, which is a feast day when both martyrs and confessors are commemorated in the church. So I'm not sure if the Orthodox Christian Coptics are going to become problematic, but they do share an anniversary with 9/11. The Jews are back again. Yom Kippur, 9/16. Brace yourselves for that. Could be trouble. We have 9/21. The Jews again. Sukkot is a day that commemorates the years the Jews journeyed into the desert, so that might be a problem. Hindus, obviously, very, very, very troubling. 9/20. The pagans again. The pagans and the Wiccans are back. And then we get back to the Islamic groups here on 9/28. In October, same thing. The Hindus and the Islamic again over there. And then we get to November, and I'm not really seeing much. We have the pagan and the Wiccans. The Christians have All Saints Day. The Rastafarians in November, maybe they're going to be the troublemakers, the Rastafarians, or the Hindus, or the Baha'i. Birthdays. We've got birthdays celebrating. And so I don't know what they're talking about. The Sikhs are coming in on 11/19. Okay. I don't know what they're talking about. I think everything is, looks pretty standard to me. I'm not real sure what religious holidays they're talking about that might be so problematic, but let's take a look in and dive in a little bit further. All right, here we've got additional details. They say through the remainder of 2021, here's what we've got. We've got racially or ethnically motivated violent extremists. And so we've got RMVEs. See this here? We've already talked about several other of these on this channel. We talked about DVEs, domestic violent extremism. We also talked about HVEs, homegrown violent extremists. And then, of course, we know that John Brennan was talking about libertarians as being problematic. So these people are either racially or ethnically motivated extremists, and they're also government or anti-government, anti-authority violent extremists. So we've got two new categories, REMVEs, and then we've got GAAVEs. So a lot more extremists coming out. Could be racial, could be ethnic, could be anti-government, could be anti-authority. Wow. So all of those groups are now going to remain national threats. They may seek to exploit the emergence of COVID-19 as a rationale to conduct these attacks. And they're also talking about pandemic-related stressors that have contributed to the societal strains, which is very interesting because the government basically caused all of those. As I note right here, all caused by government mismanagement. Now, they're also saying that Al-Qaeda is stepping things up. And recall, this was on Friday, right? Leading up to the anniversary of 9/11, Al-Qaeda is already reorganizing itself on the Arabian Peninsula. They actually put an English copy magazine out there, the first in over 4 years. So they have this new magazine called Inspire Magazine. That's now out. Now, despite all of these warnings, they are telling us that there are no credible or imminent threats that have been identified currently at these locations. But you still need to be bracing yourself for it nonetheless. Foreign and domestic threat actors. Who are these people? They include foreign intelligence services, so foreign nation states that have intelligence services. We also have international terrorist groups that are going to be involved. But then we get over to the DVEs, right? This is the same category that we've already heard a lot about, domestic violent extremists. They're going to be amplifying these narratives and calling for violence. They do this on multiple online platforms that we don't have defined for us. So I'm asking, is it Parler? Is it Getter? Is it Twitter? Is it Facebook? Is it Gab? Is it whatever Mayorkas just says it is? Does it change? What are we looking for? They're saying that they're associated with DVE ideologies, which again, I don't really know what that means. Domestic violent extremists. It's such a broad category that it can mean anything. They're talking about that they're being associated with those ideologies or conspiracy theories about perceived election fraud and the alleged reinstatement, and then responses to, once again, anticipated restrictions over COVID cases. They're saying that they derive inspiration from these various online communities, and they're using particular messaging platforms, things like Telegram and Signal. And VPNs, if you're going to be sort of maneuvering around some of the data, they're going to be using Tor. They're going to be using all of this information to just hone in on you to make sure that you're not that dangerous, because it's trouble now. Al-Qaeda's reorganizing now over on the Arabian Peninsula. On Friday, they were doing that. Now, what are they doing now that Kabul has fallen? All right, we have some more here from the rest of this bulletin. Law enforcement has expressed concerns that people are sharing false narratives. And that these conspiracy theories will gain traction in mainstream environments. So they're really worried that people might start to, identify an alternative explanation, consider that to be the truth. Maybe it is. And maybe people start actually believing it. It gains mainstream adoption. It also says that a lot of these conspiracy theories have been amplified by the Russians, by the Chinese, and by the Iranians. And so I'd like to know specifically what different conspiracy theories are there that they are saying about the origins of COVID-19, because we know that we've talked about it a lot here on the channel, the difference between the lab escape theory and the natural origin theory. Mayorkas here, through the Department of Homeland Security, is telling us that the Russians, the Chinese, the Iranians, they're all involved in it, that they're sowing discord. Nation-state adversaries are spreading around conspiracy theories about the coronavirus and about the effectiveness of the vaccines. That's what he says specifically. Amplifying calls for calls of violence. So if they are doing those things, what are they spreading? What is the problem? Well, DHS is on it. This is what they're going to be doing to respond. They are telling us here that they're going to identify these calls. We don't know how they're going to do that, whether they're going to use warrants, whether they're going to use the FISA court, whether they're going to be monitoring people who are traveling overseas. What different buckets of people are they going to put into this analysis? Now, they're not going to tell us, obviously, because it's the Department of Homeland Security, and they've got a strong interest in making sure that their mechanisms, their investigatory powers are not revealed so that people can't reverse engineer those things. But still, this is a very, very broad spectrum bulletin. It encompasses a lot of behavior that might otherwise be constitutionally protected. And so if they're going to be telling us that they're going to be monitoring this stuff and identifying all of the different potential problems here, we need to make sure, somebody needs to make sure that this is not improperly encroaching on protected, legitimate speech, protected, legitimate government activity. You don't just get to be the Department of Homeland Security, and just get to pass these bulletins without somebody putting some pressure back on the other direction. What are you talking about? Evaluating calls for violence. What does that mean? What types of online activity are you going to be investigating? What is disinformation here? You say it's the spread of disinformation. What is that? Okay, disinformation is a little bit different than misinformation. Misinformation is information that's wrong and it's being spread around not for nefarious purposes. Disinformation is information that is necessarily being spread around for nefarious purposes. It's wrong, they know it's wrong, and they're spreading it around anyways. So what is that? Who are they saying is doing this? Conspiracy theories and false narratives. Is it actually disinformation? Are those false narratives actually intentionally wrong disinformation? Or is it misinformation? Or is it accurate information? The gatekeeper of misinformation and disinformation is going to be able to control that gate regardless of the information it's gatekeeping. They're also talking about suspected threat actors. Have no idea who those are. DHS continues to encourage the public to maintain awareness. They're asking local law enforcement officials for open lines of communication with federal partners. They want authoritative sources of information to be out there and available to debunk and preempt false narratives. Okay. Again, nobody knows what that means. More broadly, they're going to identify whatever. Okay. So you see what's going on here, how you can help. You can report to suspicious activity yourself. You can understand how to navigate the internet better, and you can respond to false and harmful narratives. But above all, my friends, make sure you're listening to local authorities and public safety officials. The government is here, and we are absolutely ready and able to help. So let's take a quick look at some questions over here from watchingthewatchers.locals.com and see what we've got for our final segment here. If there's any questions, we'll wrap those up. Looks like we have some here. Trump says, off topic, says, let's see here. Okay, we're gonna save that one for the end of the show. 1 second. We're just gonna remove Give me 1 second. We're going to save that one. That's a good one. We're going to save it here for the end of the show. Make sure I get to it. And let me pull up this form in a different way. All right. Okay. All right. Apologies for that. All right. Sergeant Bob is here. Says Mideast crisis is the shiny red ball. That is the red herring. It's keeping our attention away from us on something else. Meanwhile, at home, they are just clamping down restrictions across the board. We have another one here from Vienticus Prime with a long one. Let's go through this. Says, we'll spend 20 years so that we can have $2 trillion memes, but spend no money on things like education, housing, health, just plain old financial stability for the average individual. Yet we're supposed to believe some BS over why people become violent. You know, people talk about the problem with mob rule, but we already live under mob rule. It's just a different definition of the mob. So I ask people, which would you rather have if you were stuck deciding between the two? Also, I want to add my little bit of wisdom or lack thereof to what you were saying about people being human beings. It's this. I find it pointless to hate people as individuals. If you're going to hate something, don't hate the player, hate the game. If you find yourself hating people, I find it's easier to try to change other people. If you're going to hate something, hate life for making all of us stupid and doing stupid things that have stupid reactions. I find that way I'm more willing to just accept people as they are and adjust myself accordingly. Yeah, you know, if you allow, I think, that inhumanity to fester in your heart, that's where it becomes kind of ingrained in you, and it sort of spreads around, and it's not a healthy. It's toxic. You don't want that to come into your life at all. Thank you for that, Vienticus Prime. It's a good comment, and I appreciate it. I'm Not Gas says, remember the Yom Kippur War? Better to deploy the FBI to the Brooklyn bagel shops. Yeah, so I'm Not Gas. Yeah, I mean, I can't even comment on it. It's too ridiculous. It's too ridiculous to comment on. Sergeant Bob says the crucifixion was pretty violent. Easter could be an issue. It could be Easter. Yeah, that's true. Forgot about Easter. But we already had Easter. It's not in the time zone. It's from August to November. So I don't know what else it could be. We have Sharon Quidney says, perceived government restrictions sounds like a line from any totalitarian dictatorship you would care to mention. There are no unnecessary or excessive government restrictions. Everything is for the public good, and you can kiss your you-know-what goodbye along with all your civil liberties and constitutional rights. That is from Sharon Quidney. Good to see you, Sharon. Let's see what else we have here. We've got I'm Not Gas says, you know, the amount of calls to violence on these forums could be cut in half if the FBI stopped Fed posting on them. I love that. Fed posting. Yeah, right? Because they're everywhere. You forgot about the white privilege holidays. You're right. I forgot about that. Labor Day, Columbus Day, Thanksgiving, Christmas. Yeah, that's right. White people. Yeah, it's just, those are days of national mourning for, I think, the rest of the country. We have a Want to Know says the Taliban leader said he wants the mausoleum to spread through the whole world. I don't like his rules at all, since most of them think the USA is number one. Do they think that? Good to see you, Want. Let's see what else. We've got another one here. It says, what about old men hair sniffers? He's killing a lot of Afghanistan people right now. I think that's talking about Sniffy Joe. We have Sharon says, watch, they're preparing the next crisis for when people get tired of the COVID stuff or it dies down so it's no longer a crisis. They have to have a crisis in order to increase their tyrannic stranglehold. That's from Sharon Quidney. We have a couple more. TOS Forever says, how interesting that for 244 years, America has these very holidays happening with the sweetness of honey and apples that have made America a success. Now we are supposed to believe DHS is legit. Doesn't this read like Marx, Lenin, Hitler rock group? Yeah, like they're forming a band. Like the Hitler and the dictators. Hitler and the totalitarians. Biden and the commies. Playing this Friday night at your local bar. Bring your Vax Pass so that you can get in. Yeah, it's troubling. We have here, Thunder7 says, Rob, don't you know that believing in God is racist? I forgot about that. If you believe in any divine being, you are a white supremacist. Rastas are racist, along with the Mennonites who preserve jam and jellies and those Catholics that venerate with the Christ the King. Arrest them all. They're clearly domestic terrorists. Hasidic and Amish communities are next on the watch list. Yeah, it's dangerous out there. Look, if you believe in God, then that means you don't believe in Dr. Fauci, because he is, to many people, our Lord incarnate. on this planet. And so, yeah, it's blasphemy. If you believe in Jesus Christ, that's like blasphemous to many people who believe in Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and AOC. They're gonna solve all of that for us. Want to know is here, says, so if you didn't vote for a Democrat, you're a terrorist. Yeah, I think it's something like that. If you sort of don't agree with any of what the government is saying, then that is a problem. Let's see here. We've got... All right, we're going to save that for the very last. Okay, so that, my friends, was all of the questions over from watchingthewatchers.locals.com and over on YouTube. We're going to give some shout outs to everybody who's chatting away over there. No doubt, I'm not gas. We have JM Shanahan 44, haven't seen that name before. Speech Unleashed. We have many others. Pinky 2 in the house. On YouTube, we're chatting to Randy Holmes, GH Tube 8. We have Stace on the case. Zulu's in the house along with James Beaver. Appreciate all of those questions, all of that love over there from all of those different platforms. If you're on Locals, I want to invite you to come and join us at our watchingthewatchers.locals.com community. You can see here we had a couple people sign up over the weekend. Big welcomes here to Deadmau5, who chimed in on the chat today, along with Refanilator is in the house. We had last week signed up. We had Jutta, M-Kit, Daversec, Shifty Shift, 503 Unlimited, Mary B, The Real Patriot, and Laura SB in the house as well. Also want to remind you that if you're a supporter at watchingthewatchers.locals.com, then you can join us, sign up at watchingthewatchers.locals.com Saturday, August 28th, 2021, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And that, my friends, is it for me for the day. I want to thank everybody for being a part of the show. Really appreciate all of the great questions, all of the thoughts. I want to remind little Miss Olivia out there that it is time to get ready for bed. You got school tomorrow. Got to make sure that you brush your teeth. Make sure that you're all cleaned up and ready for bed so that you can get some good sleep and have a nice day at school. Olivia, sleep very well, sweet dreams, and we'll see you on the next one. And that, my friends, is it from me for the day. I want to thank you so much for being a part of the show. We are going to be back here at the same time, same place, doing the same thing tomorrow at 4 p.m. Arizona time, 5 p.m. Mountain, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. on the East Coast. Everybody, thank you so much for being a part of the program this evening. Have a tremendous evening. Sleep very well. You too, Miss Olivia. I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Thanks so much for watching. Before you head out, I want to just remind you that I am a criminal defense lawyer here in Scottsdale, Arizona, where my team and we've got a long history of helping good people facing criminal charges to find safety, clarity, and hope in their cases and beyond that in their lives. Our phone number for a free case evaluation is 480-787-0394. You can also find us online at www.rrlawaz.com. We can help with any type of criminal charge in the state of Arizona. Things like DUI, drug offenses, misdemeanor offenses. And we can also help with clearing up old case records, like expunging cases or making sure that you can restore your rights so that you can vote again or possess a firearm again or apply for some other federal benefits. We can remove mugshots off the internet. Basically, anytime that you or somebody you know or love is in trouble with the law in the state of Arizona, we have an amazing team of people. We would just love the opportunity to help. And our phone number, of course, 480-787-0394. And if you don't need any legal services, that's a very good thing, but you may be interested in some informational offerings so that you are prepared if you do have to deal with the police. And of course, I want to invite you to head on over to gumroad.com/Robert Gruler. You'll notice here, I've got several different trainings that are available, including the law enforcement interaction training. This is the 1, 2, 3 rule for dealing with the police. It's one rule you need, 2 questions that the police can ask of you, and 3 responses if they ask you a problematic question. So that's available now. You can also get a load at my personal productivity system here called Existence Systems. Fun little course. And then we have here, if you're a lawyer or a legal professional, be sure to check out this program. We are meeting twice every month. Again, all of this over at gumroad.com/Robert Gruler. And if none of that sounds any good to you, well, just go ahead and give us a follow, because I'm working on some other products and some other offerings. And of course, if you have not already done so, want to invite you one more time to head on over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com. It's where you can support the show, and it's where we can connect. We've got monthly Zoom meetings and a lot of other goodies coming up. So I look forward to seeing you there. Thank you so much for watching and for all of your love and support. I will see you on the next one.